If you don't know what Twitter is, and a lot of people don't, although we talk about it on this program, it is a program that you can use on a phone or a computer, which really allows you to put messages out into cyberspace within, I think it's 140 characters, and follow people. It's a form of social media, and it is addictive. And it is effective in some ways. It can also be a waste of time depending how you use it. The Lord Mayor has got no idea about it, but then what would we expect from our Lord Mayor? On the line there's Don Segola, who is the co-creator of Twitter. He is in Australia for the Melbourne Radio Conference this weekend. Don Segola, good morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thanks for talking to us. I've of course put the question out on Twitter, what people want to know from you, and there's a message here from David. Thanks so much for another addiction. A day without Twitter is like a day without coffee. So it's going well. I guess the basic question, though, with when you created it, why? What are you trying to achieve?
Well, it was an interesting activity that we had. We were a podcasting company where that market wasn't taking off to our satisfaction, and we had a brainstorming competition. And my friend Jack Dorsey had the idea. He brought it with him from 5 years earlier, and it was simply to make it so easy that you don't even think about it. You just write. And arguably, people don't think about it.
Jeez,
and they write things that they may not actually want in public.
It's a bit dangerous. Well, that does happen a bit. Don't even think about it, just write.
Yep, and so we wanted it for ourselves. We really wanted it to be our own private social network. And at the time, there weren't a lot of quality networks. Facebook was still quite young, and it was very private, but it didn't have the qualities of open source, which was how we built our company. And so we built Twitter to be open and in a public commons. We, of course, had it to ourselves for a while, and the first day that we built it, a conversation between myself and Jack opened it up, and it was him saying tweet number 35, waiting for Dom to update more, and then tweet number 38 was me saying, "Ooh, this is going to be addictive." And that was why I wrote my book, 140 Characters, as how to master that addiction.
So is this in the category with the very first telephone call?
Yeah, the short format is the oldest format of writing. If you look back on history and you think about even back to the smoke signals or anything you do communicating over a distance, like the telegram, the headline, the one-liner, the dramatic title, the comeback, the kicker sentence, the lead sentence, these are all short formats that we've had. Our brain has a cognitive limit of about a one sentence of memory to remember a quotation, for example. And it turns out that actually there is a limit of number of connections that you can maintain, around 155, it turns out. And so this limit is a natural human cognitive limit.
Oh, look, I agree with you. It's dangerous too, and a number of people have been embarrassed. One of our famous retired cricketers, Shane Warne, tweeted yesterday that very critical comments about the Australian cricket captain, and that's made news, and I sometimes wonder if Shane remembered what he was doing. But is there any way of controlling it? I mean, can I be defamed on Twitter?
Well,
I am often, I should say.
Well, so I'm glad you brought this up, because there are people who follow me who try to get my attention by critiquing me and giving me a hard time. And my reaction is, you got to starve a troll. You don't give them your attention, because that's what they crave. They want to bring you down to their level, and they want you to have a conversation with them because they think they're gaining something. And so if you find yourself being critiqued and you feel like it's getting under your skin, craft a perfect response, but don't send it.
Yeah, but how many followers have you got, for example?
Right now, I think it's about 14,500.
14,500. So if somebody puts on a serious comment which is wrong, like Dom Segola is a terrorist or a wife beater or something like that, I mean, you have no way of addressing that, really, other than denying it.
In that case, I might say something, but, it's so obviously wrong. In the majority of the messages that are in response to things that I say are positive. And again, they want you to pay attention to them.
Well,
unless it's a problem, like actually I had an issue where I was speaking in Dominican Republic, and there were folks who got the marketing message a little wrong, and they were critiquing my position, say that I'm not actually one of the founders of the company, which is true. I don't technically found the company. The company was founded by three men, Jack, Biz, and Ev, but there were 14 of us who helped to build it, so we call ourselves, for lack of a better term, co-creators. Yep. And in much the same way that if you participated in the development of an early stage of a company, that you helped to build it. There's really no other word for it. So they were taking issue with that term. So I had the chance to find one of those people, pick them out, someone I thought that was influential, and I wrote them an email with the knowledge that they would probably publish it. And he did. and he published it just in totem without translation, and that was enough, I think, to quell a lot of the response.
But if you or I say defamatory things here, or we say them in a newspaper, there is legal recourse. Is there any legal recourse against Twitter, or is it fair game?
Not against the company per se, but if someone is impersonating you, there's recourse. There's part of the terms of service that you can go and reprimand or kick that person off, or verify yourself as being the person who's actually legitimately yourself.
And what if they're defaming me? And can I find them? And because it's published, isn't it? There's no question it's being published.
Well, it's the same thing as if someone did that in the newspaper. I mean, it's the same sort of.
Who do I sue?
Of course, you would probably have to go after that person.
I can't sue the carrier of it.
I don't think you. Yeah, I don't.
Because I can sue a newspaper if I'm defamed.
Right, except that they're employing the people who publish things in there. So it's not as if Twitter's employing the people who publish
they might be quoting somebody.
They could be, yep. So I think it's sort of a matter of the individual message and what they're doing and who they are.
Okay, I know you need to get away. How many people using Twitter now?
I believe that they don't publish the exact numbers regularly, but the last time I heard it was about 180 million. I think the more interesting statistics are that there are about 370,000 per day that join, and there are right now an average of 600 tweets per second.
And how do you make money out of it?
Well, actually, if you follow the recent developments, there's a new CEO, and he's very focused on monetizing the platform via advertising.
Okay. And where will it be 5 years' time?
I think we'll be back where we began, which is this concept of a very specialized social network that fulfills very, very interesting and unserved and unmet needs. So where we had, right in the beginning, this tribe of 14 people who were coworkers who became friends, I think we'll see places like sub-Saharan Africa or developing nations that suddenly have the ability to communicate, whereas they wouldn't have a data network. They have this text messaging internet now. And so we'll see what we have now very penetrated in Australia and in the first world. We'll have that ability in places that don't already have a voice. That's what I look for.
And a lot of Twitterers are asking whether the number of characters will be extended.
Well, I get a hard time about that because the title of my book is 140 characters. But it really is, like I said, the cognitive limit. I don't think they'll change it right away. It's a result of the legacy, which was that we needed to fit the entire message inside a text message. So that's actually an interesting story, which is contained in the introduction to my book. But it's basically another engineer, just like Jack, in the 80s, when he wrote this specification for what's widely accepted to be the global messaging standard, global mobile standard, GSM. And he did an average count of the number of characters in a sentence. And, famous quotations, first lines of books. And he just did an average number, and it came up with 160. And he wrote that into the spec. And so we had to fit within that when we first designed it.
Last question, what's the verb?
What is the verb? To tweet?
To tweet. I thought so. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. Tom Sikola, co-creator of Twitter, 96900 693 13 13 32. Do you use it? Is it a waste of time? I find it useful for news alerts. Very useful for news alerts. And I follow Warney because you never know what he's going to say about aircraft or about cricket.